Hi everyone, welcome to our first masterclass in 2023. So good to see you. I already saw a couple of people are here from different parts of the world. Hi Megan, Vanessa, Daniel, Betisha, good to see you. Peter is here. Violetta from Serbia, Southern Maryland, Florida, Arizona. Okay, I see you are here from everywhere. Good to see you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to start 3 after the hour. So don't you don't have to rush or anything. Just get something to drink. Everything will be recorded. You can watch this as a replay. So no need to write everything down. You can if you like, but it's not necessary. Yeah, just to give you a couple of back information of how we're going to do it today. So with this masterclass, we're also launching our first bootcamp of the year. We have been doing this for 4 years now, and 4 times a year. It's my most popular program, and INFJs keep coming back. This is lifetime access. So once you're in it, you are automatically enrolled for free in every future live round. And because so many INFJs keep coming back, it's always a great sign that, okay, this is working. And so we've perfected this over the last couple of years, and, more and more joining. And it's a real big community. And we're really here to help INFJs, in our way to reach the goals we want to reach. But today isn't just about bootcamp. I really want to look into the 5 pillars. I want to help you. First off, if you're still in doubt if you want to join, but also if you just want to know more about how the 5 pillars work, I'm here to answer questions, to help you one way or another. So even if you say, I'm not willing to take that step yet, that you can still take something out of it, and that you can, make progress in your INFJ epic life. And if you're saying, okay, I'm ready, I just have a couple of questions, I want to crush it this year, new year, new me, and we can all benefit from all the lessons learned throughout the last years. Now is your chance to join us. Also, click a quick info. I am what's the word? So everybody who joins within this hour of the masterclass enters to win one of 3 audio guides. So this is worth $247. So if you are joining, use the chance, do it now, because then you might be one of the winners. So let me just see. If we have, I saw Linda here. Okay, I see all of you. William, so good to see you guys from all over the world. Great. Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over the pillars with you. And give you a concept of how the system works, like how it all developed, and how it might be beneficial for you. Not might, chances are, if you're an INFJ, then this is the program for you. So a lot of people ask me, okay, how do I know that I'm an INFJ for sure? How do I know that this bootcamp will work for me? And my answer to this is, always look at my videos. If my videos resonate with you, then you are probably 98% chance an INFJ. And I'm not talking about like 1 in 3 or 4 videos or 1 in 10 videos. So if there are a lot of videos that you say, oh, this is exactly me, then you're an INFJ, because I have so many friends who would like to support me, and they support me in a lot of ways, but they cannot get into this, and they're not INFJ. So if you have a connection to this content, if this content is really helpful for you, then you're most likely an INFJ. Otherwise, other people just approach it from a different perspective, right? So before we really get started here with the 5 pillars, just give me some, if you have some overall questions, either about the 5 pillars, about the program, about bootcamp, now is a great time. If you have questions, I always encourage you to put a Q in front of it, because there's a lot of communication happening within you guys, and in the comment section or in the in the live stream, which I really, really love, and that you are helping each other and are talking to each other. But if you put a Q in front of it, then I know, oh, okay, this is a question, and I can pull it up and we can get to it. Hi, Sunita. Okay, I see here greetings from Netherlands. Sunshine says you have been very helpful. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so again, so how did the five pillars happen? So I've been doing this channel for 8 years. So my whole transformation was probably 8 years ago, and a lot of like I changed my life completely because I wasn't getting everything out of life that I wanted. I always felt something was missing, and all the mainstream motivation or self-help books, they were always missing something. And so I worked a lot on finding out what works for me, and then through that I started doing one-on-one coaching. I did group coaching here and there. We had a retreat. So I've been in contact with INFJs a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And so through that I worked out those five pillars, which are like the most important aspects to work on if you're an INFJ. And within those pillars, we talk about how to approach it, because we all know it's not just about, okay, I need to work out, or I need to get a better job or anything like this. It's about like the motivation for it. It's about being excited about life, and it's about feeling like you're actually tapping into your potential. Because for the longest time, no matter how my life looked on paper, I always felt like something is missing, like I'm not really tapping into it. And the moment I started implementing these things, like the first day I already knew, oh, okay, I'm on this. So it wasn't about like having reached my lifestyle now that I'm my own boss and I live like the way I want to live as an INFJ, but it was like way before that I knew now I'm on the right path. And so it was a lot, and then back and forth with a lot of INFJs to work out these pillars. And so I'm really, really happy that we have this concept, and it's been a very very successful and very popular. And I see, as I said, so many INFJs keep coming back, and that makes me very, very happy, because I know okay, they reached a new level in their life and they want more, because it's like positively addicting. So let's see here. I saw a Q. So here's somebody I like, this could be a little bit of a triggering question, but I don't think that's how it's meant here. So Lucia says, how can I be heartless? So the whole thing I think here with INFJs, and this is also part of boot camp, is we always think like, okay, so what is the alternative? I'm just being myself. I'm trying to do good for others. And this is just like who I am. And everything else would just be heartless. But the reason for this is because we have hollowed ourselves out. I always talk about hollowing ourselves out. And when you do that, you're so aware of others' emotions and how they're feeling way more than you are aware of your own stuff and your own emotions and everything that you deserve. And once you start building yourself up, you get a different sense of, oh, okay, it wasn't heartless like choosing me. It was just like, this is like a necessity here. Like, this isn't heartless. It just felt heartless. Like, when I always talk about, if you have, let's say, an abusive relationship, the victim there always feels like they're being heartless if they would leave the abuser. So it's always like from the subjective standpoint. And you will see, the more you actually start building up your life, you are not only helping yourself, but you're actually helping people around you without sacrificing your soul and your well-being. And you start living this life that seems like is happening through you. And to get to this place, we need to level up our energy in order to make the changes that are difficult, because they are like, this is mental load, this is mental work. And I always say, we as INFJs, we don't have to do all the things, we just have to do the right things. And that's what the pillars are all about, to like narrowing down, okay, let's focus on these things and improve our energy to such an extent that it works for us. And then with every step that you take, you become more and more aware of, oh, I'm on the right path here. And then you don't feel heartless at all. Like, you don't have to feel like you have to become this monster in order to be happy. Not at all. You won't feel like a monster. You will like just look at life differently and be way more like heart, like you'll be so full of life and like full of joy that the people around you will actually see that you even have more to give than you used to. Because I always say we as INFJs, we tend to like we give absolutely everything, so we barely keep our head above water, and then like the rest goes to everybody else. But this giving energy this way is limited. There's just so much you can give, and you have less and less energy for you, and you feel empty and sad, and everything's like a dark cloud above you. But when you start filling yourself up, and it works in a different way, you continuously have more to give and more to share, and it just happens on a completely different wavelength. So let's see. So it says, how to encourage myself to take more action instead of always dreaming. So this is what the bootcamp is all about, and it's like the 5 pillars in general. Because we as INFJs, we are not like, our main problem isn't about like, I don't have vision, I don't know what to do. Our whole thing is we stay in our mind, we don't take action. And what we do here is we start like pushing in the areas that will make our dynamo work, so to say. So once you get the ball rolling, you automatically want more because it feels good. So if you wait to feel like it, it's not going to happen. But it's also not going to happen if you have like this huge mountain in front of you and you say, I just don't have the motivation. It's so much. And what we do here, and this is like, what pillar 1 is all about, is like, first off, to gather as much energy as possible. And we really are focused on how to do that as an INFJ. So this is not about, okay, work out 5 times a week and do this. No, it's more like, okay, let's optimize our sleep. Let's declutter our life. Like all of those things that, work an advantage for INFJs. Exercise is also one of them, but it's not to such an extent as you hear it somewhere else. And then when we do have the energy, we go through the different pillars. So mainly here we're talking about like the relationships, the vocation part, like the vocation part is pillar 4, wealth management, vocation. And then we're talking also about like how to prioritize all of that. So, the pillar 1 and 5 are pretty much like, they're keeping it all together. But the relationships that you do have are the anchors, to how you see yourself. So if you change your relationships, that will automatically encourage you to start taking action. If like, you have the self-image of, I am somebody who stands up for herself and like, does the things that I want and are all excited, and you have this relationship with people, they pretty much mirror that back to you. And we as INFJs, because we pick up so much from those relationships, it's super important to work on that. Because if you have to mobilize yourself constantly, it just takes up way too much energy. But if you have people around you who remind you of, oh, that's who you are, or that's who you want to be, it gets much easier. Same thing with our wealth management, like that we say we're going to take action in this, in this area, not because, oh, everybody says wealth management is so great and I should care about it, but because it gives us freedom. It gives us freedom of choice. It makes life easier. It allows us to live more like abundantly. And the more abundant you feel, the more, encouraged you are to take the steps that make you happy. So it's a combination of things, and it's not the typical, okay, work 60 hours a week, do all of these things that people tell you to do. It's not necessary, not for us INFJs, because we do have the vision. We just have to make those little tiny tweaks. And then vocation is also like a big fuel to, to say, okay, I need to, I want this. Like I have this gift in me and I want to share it somehow. The combination of all of that makes that happen. So I know exactly where you're at because I've been there. I always did the bare minimum, and it's a different ballgame now. And it's not, as I said, it's not, okay, I work from morning till evening, then I add on 6 hours of my own business, then I work out 5 times a week. None of that. It's about like taking consistent steps in the areas that are important to you. So again, it starts creating a new identity, right? It's like in, I don't know if you've read this Atomic Habits, like if you start building a new identity that is based on, okay, I'm doing these things, and if I don't do these things, I don't feel like myself, and it happens so gradually, it never feels like work, and you have more and more energy to, like, to give. It's really interesting once you start, picking up the process. But it's really about, okay, what am I going to do this week in pillar 1? What am I going to do next week in pillar 2? And that's also how bootcamp is set up. So first, we really go, like, you have access to all the material. We have videos, like video lessons on all the things in pillar 1. And then it's about, okay, now try to apply it in your day-to-day life. And you'll see that as INFJs, we have one concept of, oh, that's how it's going to be. And then once you start doing it, you say, oh, no, first off, I can do way less than I thought. And second of all, it feels completely different than I thought. And through that process, you start learning to show up for yourself. And so then the next week we add on, like, okay, now let's focus on at least one of your relationship types. Are we talking about, like, work relationships, friendships, family, intimate, like whatever it may be, that will make the biggest difference now, or that you can handle, like, energy wise. And so it adds to everything, right? It's about building a new identity that is comfortable taking those steps. And again, you don't have to do all the things. You just have to do the right things consistently, because they just feel normal. Like, it's not hard for you to brush your teeth every day, right? So also the things we want to do here, we learn how to just make those tiny adjustments that it never feels like you need willpower for it. Because if you need willpower, it's not going to last, right? And so that's when we see the biggest improvements, and and see, big changes happening. Okay, so then it says, are you ever going to have a midweek boot camp? It would work better for those of us with family. Saturday's family activity day. I completely understand it, Dennis, and hopefully when we get, like, when bootcamp gets a little bit bigger, we can do this, so I can have, like, two different time slots. Also, there are people from Australia for whom this is difficult. So Saturday is, currently it's just the best for the majority of people, because, for, let's say, people in the US who are working during the week, Saturday is doable. But we'll definitely have it in the future. It just might be, a couple more boot camps ahead. I'll have some surveys and see how we can improve that. So, okay, so Healing Wisdom says, what is the expected outcome result to achieve doing bootcamp? So the expected outcome result is that you are aware that you are on your path. Like, that is the biggest life change, and that's the biggest transformation here. And this is, as I said, why people come back, because they see, oh, okay, I'm on that path. Very often we're not on the path. We just say, okay, I'm doing these things, but it doesn't feel like something has changed. I'm still the same person. But the result here is that at the end of bootcamp, you feel like, oh, I'm anchored. I'm anchored into the path that I want to take. I might not be exactly where I want to be, because there's never, an end point. But I'm like, I know if I just continue this way, I'm getting there. And that's the best feeling in the world. That's the biggest difference that happened for me. And that's why I see, INFJs keep coming back, because of that feeling. Because for the first time, they feel like, okay, I'm grabbing this. Like, I'm in control here. I'm not a victim to my circumstances. Like, this is, the powerful thing here. Because I always say, we master the art of showing up. We become aware of all of the, not the triggers, but, like, where to tweak left and right that are making the biggest differences for INFJ. So we do have the forward movement, like, fast enough so it gets exciting and you want to continue. And at the same time, it's not so fast that you think, okay, like, I cannot keep up with this forever. Like, our goal is that you get to a place where you have, like, a system and habits and all of that, and you feel, I could theoretically do this for the rest of my life and it wouldn't be too much. Like, that's the goal. That's what we want to get to. And once once boot camp is over, so it's 6 weeks, the next one is going to be, like, as I said, we have it 4 times a year. So once you're in it, you can just say, okay, this is how I was able to move forward with the group experience. A lot of people join the Facebook group. It's not a necessity, but if you want, like, that's also like, on top, like an encouragement. And then you have like some time off to try and do it on yourself and see, okay, this is like good, and some things like I need a little bit more motivation here. And so you keep coming back and you say, okay, now like I've reached like this new level, maybe I've gotten a new job, or I'm better with my relationships, I'm taking control of my wealth management, I feel great, like I feel empowered. So it's really about like changing your whole perspective on life, and to know that I am in control. Like I got this. And maybe you have like moments of doubt, but you know that you felt it and you can go back to that. And if you've been able to go back to that emotion and that feeling, like that feeling state, and not just once, but like continuously, you get the self-confidence that you can get there again. And that's the goal in it all, like to feel it, to know, okay, I'm on that path. Like I am tapping into my potential. Like there's nothing outside of my life that is just happening and I'm just watching. No, I got this. Like this is my life. That's the biggest goal. Okay. What do we have here? Okay, so Susie says, okay, Susie again. How do I build new friendships as an adult? So this is also like one of the things, we talk about in relationship management, as in like, what kind of friends do you want to have? We as INFJs, we tend to want to have one or two friends, and these friends should be everything to us. Why is that? Well, mainly because we feel like we have to give so much, and we have to attach ourselves to the people around us. But when you start building your life and you say, I want to live fully and I want to start it with me, you got to ask yourself, okay, what do I want in life? Maybe like in friendships, let's say, maybe there are friends you want to have as encouragement because you're all motivated for new achievements. With other friends, it's all about sharing similar hobbies. With your other friends, it's more about nostalgia, and it's about like understanding what you want, and to then have the friends that will complement your life. So it's not about like, oh, I have to give up this friend in order to be all the time with that friend and get all like everything. But more to understand, this is like what I want, like in order to have that full life, these are the energies and the relationship types that I want to have. And once you have that, and once you know that, it's way easier to say, how do I build new friendships? Because then it's say, okay, I want to have somebody who's motivating me to work out. Okay, so then you join like a group that is all about working out, or it's you want to have somebody that you share your vocation with. So maybe you want to do some philanthropy work, or you're like really interested in music, and you start going into like the music scenes and finding people there, and you just don't expect so much from like one person. You just know we're all different, and that's like good, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And if you approach it this way, it's way easier to find friends, because then you're not looking for like, oh, this person is going to fill up my soul, that is my best friend in the whole wide world. Because the truth is, you're that person in your life, and you should be that person in your life. And then like you don't have these huge expectations of people that they cannot fulfill, because people are very complex, and every person in your life, if you focus on that person so immensely, which we INFJs do very often, we have to make compromises to such an extent that it doesn't allow us to really choose ourselves. But if you have this, you can still have incredible friendships. And I always say, like, I still have my best friends from like school, but it's completely different experience now, right? I mean, seriously, they like I used to know absolutely everything that my best friend was thinking, all of her fears, all of her like, I was in her art world. I was experiencing so much through her eyes. Nothing like this is like, it's not like that anymore. I'm not aware of all of those things. And I would still say the relationship is way better because it was just codependent. And we INFJs tend to do that. And now it's a healthy one that is, adding to my life instead of, you know, pulling, our energy out. So, the question says, any additional tips on identifying self with the goal? For example, becoming the person. What did you find working for you in your journey? Um, yeah, like self knowledge. That's the whole thing. Like, we are not aware of what we want until we start doing things. And that's why, we're saying, okay, let's look at your relationships. Like, we make it very clear, because if you're not making it clear in the beginning, you don't know where to start, because you just don't have, like, you don't feel yourself, because we've hollowed ourselves out. But once you start doing these things and you say, okay, this is a relationship I can think of, like, a top of my mind, that I want to improve, and you do that and you have those difficult conversations, things change. And then once you're at a higher level, you're way more aware of what you want. Same thing with like wealth, and with with like your vocation. And when we come to priority management, like, that's the whole thing. You have to set goals. How often do we not set goals, because it's like, what for? But once you start setting goals and you actually get excited about just becoming a person who, does what, you have set up to do, and you can trust yourself that you're going to take those steps, you get so excited about this entire process that you want more of it. So the motivation happens once you start doing it. But I couldn't tell you like anything particular, um like like anything that is very, very like applies to everybody. Like, that's the whole thing about INFJ, epic life on your terms. We are not saying that's the life you should live. What we are working on is identifying, what it is for you, and how you can like emphasize that and get excited about that. For me, it was, all of those things. Like, it was understanding that I had the power to make myself happy, that I had the power to live the life that I wanted to live, that, I shouldn't, like, I projected so much onto other people and expected so much that I could give to myself. And so a lot of things changed through that. But, we gotta look a little bit deeper. There's no overall answer here. Let me see. How to hide fear of failure? You mean hide? You mean how to overcome? How to overcome fear of failure? The goal here is like pretty much to know that it's coming. Like, I always say, whatever you do, you start a podcast, you start a YouTube channel, you write your book, you apply for a new job, you're going to fail. There is no doubt. It's not a question of if you're going to fail. You're going to fail, and it's going to suck. And the first product that you put out, whatever it is going to be a disaster, and you're going to be disappointed, and it's going to be always less than what you imagine, because we as INFJs, we have like this vivid imagination of how things should be, and once you take steps in reality, it falls short to that, particularly in the beginning, very big. But the point is to get over that fear. And how do we get, like, not to get over the fear, but to get over the like the fact that you are failing. And so we in small steps, and I always say we want to get ourselves out of our comfort zone, but we don't want to overwhelm ourselves, right? So it's important that you find what is the right amount of, anxiety that you can take on. So in the example of, let's say you want to start a YouTube channel. Maybe it's too much for you to record a video and put it online. Like, that would overwhelm you. But if you would record something, and just the fact of recording it, that in itself will already make you nervous. That is a great start. If you are in that space, if that is something that makes you nervous, if you're like afraid of the judgment, of the failure, that is the right amount of step. And we have to get comfortable with this uncomfortable feeling. But again, only as much as you can take. And we very often, we as INFJs think, oh, I should be able to do so much more. What we learn in bootcamp is that there is no such thing, because it's not important that you're able to make big steps. What is important is to find out where your level is. So even if your level is, I can do I can even record myself. What I can do is, put a camera somewhere in front of me. Like that already makes me so anxious. That is the step for you. And the good thing is, like, once you start figuring out where you're at, it's so much easier to get the ball rolling, because then it's like, okay, I do this once, it makes me nervous. I do this twice, it doesn't make me nervous. I can do the next step. But if from the beginning you say, oh, I'm not even able to do that step, and like I should be able to do all of that, it keeps you frozen. So our goal is to face like failure face on, and to know that every success story is based on continuous failures, and it's just like failure, 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 and you just don't see it that way anymore. You just see it, oh, okay, it's part of the process, it's part of what I learn. I stop putting so much emotion into it, because the more often you do this and the higher you get, the less it really affects your self-image. Because what is it all about in the end? Like, what is the fear here? The fear is that if you fail, it says something about you, like you are not enough. That, there's a chance that you're something special, like somebody special, but the moment when you fail, you have it proved, no, you're not. And with all of those failures, you understand that that definition is flawed to begin with, because you are enough one way or another, if you do something or if you don't. And that, in the end, like, people, whatever people think about you has absolutely nothing to do with you, right? It's a reflection of how they see the world. And the more often you do this, the more you like get your self-confidence from the fact that you are somebody who keeps showing up, and not so much about like, oh, this is the end result and it's not good enough, right? I still make mistakes. It happens, and like, you just move on from that. And that's what we learn. And I think, like, for INFJs, it's super important that we learn, to find that balance, like, of not going too far, and or not expecting too much of ourselves, not to be too harsh with ourselves, as in, oh, if the, like, that small of a step is all I can do without being overwhelmed, then like, why even try? And here we learn, no, there's no such thing. Like, just learn where you're at, no matter how small it is. And once you make those shifts, it's like game over, baby. Like, because it's like, you got it, you understand how it works. Similarly, when we talk, for example, about like improving your physical energy management, and we're talking about sleep, and let's say somebody goes to bed at 3 o'clock, and their goal is to go to bed at 11. You cannot expect a person to go to bed at 11 who's been going to bed at 3 for years. Like, the goal here is to be okay with going to bed at 2:45. And you might say, okay, those 15 minutes aren't going to make a difference. They might not make a difference in, like, okay, I've slept so much more. But what they do is they help you to understand, oh, that's how it feels like when I take charge of this. Like, I can like make this little adjustment, because before you know it, 2:45 feels just as easy as 3 o'clock. And then you can continue, because the goal is not to like be able to go to bed at 11 and just be like, oh, I'm full of willpower and like this is so hard and I can do it anyway. But the point is like to say, it's super easy for me to go to bed at 11. Like, that's just my normal. Like how it used to be 3 o'clock and I didn't go to bed at 5 a.m. I went bed to like at 3 a.m. Like, that was normal for me, and now it's 11, and it doesn't require any sacrifice. Like, our goal is that you never feel like you're sacrificing more than you're getting out of it. And that's how you start building this positive spiral of, I have more energy, I keep doing things that keep giving me energy, I keep doing things that increase my abundance, because you are learning more about yourself, and you find like all of those things that bring you more and more abundance, right? More energy, more like wealth in all areas of life. Because the more you know what is good for you, and what you're good at, the more you can just take little steps that will make a huge difference in your life. Because very often, let's say you're a really gifted musician, but all your life you've told yourself the only thing that really matters is that I'm an accountant, and you're just an okay accountant. As long as you feel like being a musician is failure, you're always going to feel like something is, you're not really tapping into yourself. But if you make like those small like switches and changes, in the end, it's like you'll get to a place where you feel like, oh, Being an accountant, that's failure for me. But being a musician, like that's the goal. Like that's where I thrive. This is where I'm good at. Like this is what is important to me, and this is what I love. And in these areas, I'm going to make much bigger jumps and leaps and will reach much more than I could ever do in accounting, because this is not my zone of genius, right? But I've been doing this because I've conditioned myself that this is the respectable thing. And we want to get to a place where you start respecting your own point of view the most and you understand that. And it's like, it's a series of things. It's like the entire INFJ community that is in here. It's seeing all of the progress that everybody is doing. It's seeing INFJs who've told you, oh, okay, I've been doing this, since last year in March, and like these are the results I've seen, and try this and that. And that's when you start like making a lot of the changes happen. Okay, let's see. So, Mick says, I'm a self sabotaging entrepreneur and willing to try almost anything to correct this behavior. Procrastinating is my biggest issue. Is this something Bootcamp can help with? Yes, definitely. Because what we're talking about is that most of the time, if you are self sabotaging, you're probably not doing the things that are really excited to you, like exciting to you. You just think, okay, these are the areas I need to be an entrepreneur in. But the point is like to get no, let's look at life holistically. Like let's really say, what is my main goal here? Like, I want to be self sufficient. I want to do something that I love. And I want to be excited about what I do every day, because we're not working on getting some end result. Like, that happens like as a byproduct. The point is that every single day you feel like, yeah, like I'm doing it. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the person that I'm becoming, and I can count on myself. And one of the things we work on, and this is, let's say as a strategy that we use in every single pillar and every single session that we work on, is exactly the point of, you're pushing yourself to, out of your comfort zone, but you're not overwhelming yourself. And this is something you could theoretically do for the rest of your life, and it wouldn't overwhelm you. And if you don't feel this way, then the step is too big. And we are rather going like low and slow, and because of that we get huge results in a relatively fast amount of time. And it's like, it's changing this entire approach of goal into, it's not about like reaching that goal, it's about becoming a person who's embodying all of those qualities that you want to have. Like that's our goal. And this is actually one of the lessons in pillar 5, which is the goal is not to, I'm not even sure how it's called exactly, the goal is not to achieve, the goal is to become, right? And so it is one of the key points that we use in everything that we do, definitely. So I need to okay, so Healing Wisdoms ask, should I work on unhealed trauma before starting your bootcamp? So my whole thing is no, because we as INFJs, what do? We work through trauma. We do self-help a lot. We do a lot of self-discovery, and all of those things are first off very interesting to us. We're really good at them, but they're not bringing us forward. So what I'm saying here is, don't like not do it, like do this, but this is completely different than what we do here. And there is no such thing as, they're not really correlated. Because if you work on trauma, but you're not changing your behavior, it won't really change anything, right? So both of those aspects are important. If you feel like there's something that I've found like that helped me to work on my trauma, great. What we do here is go the other way, right? So you can approach it from both directions. What we do here is, once you start taking actions that are, healthy for you, you automatically are starting to confront those unhealed traumas, because you recognize, oh, okay, like that's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And why haven't I done this before? And not supposed to be doing as an, oh, that's that's what the rule says, or that's what the bootcamp says. No, it just feels like, oh, this feels good to me. Why haven't I been doing that? And then you automatically are bringing up all of that stuff, like you're taking action that, like, for the longest time you haven't, because of this, let's say, trauma that has kept you there. And a lot of INFJs are in this dilemma, right? It's like something is keeping me from taking actions. And what we learn is that, this might work for a lot of types who are all about action, 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 but they're not tapping into anything deeper, and they have to go there so then they can take the right amount, like the right direction of action. We're not so much, we don't have the problem with finding the right direction so much. It's more about, like, we're not even pushing forward at all, because for us action is such a difficult thing, but we still love it, right? That's SE, extroverted sensing. So by taking action in those areas that we already identified, as the 5 pillars that every INFJ to some extent, you know, like is confronted with, and that make the biggest, shifts in our life, we're automatically pushed to think in a different way that brings stuff up. And very often this is the best, like, additional way to do it, because, again, like, just working through things, as long as you're not changing your actions, isn't going to, like, make a difference. Like, think about, like, how often you as an INFJ, and I'm sure most of us have, like, done, looked into being an empath. INFJ in itself is already like, oh, I understand myself so much better, and like all of those aspects. Again, this is part of who we are. This is what we love. This is what we're good at. What we need to learn is the action part, and the right action part. That is the missing component, and that's what bootcamp is all about. Like, learning how we can do the couple of right things that will make the biggest difference in our life, because we're already good at the self development and the self, healing, and looking unconsciously and understanding others and so on. But it's this aspect that we have difficulty with, and that's what, I'm here for, to show you how to integrate that, and then you see, like, big results. So my overall answer is no, you don't have to work on that. Very often, if it hasn't worked so far, like, working on it, this might be a new approach that will finally make you pull up stuff, and maybe then you'll want to go and additionally work on some trauma, or maybe you're automatically are going to work through it just by, facing it and changing who you are and changing all of those aspects. Okay, so Naomi says, how can you make new friends as an INFJ? Don't we talked about that a little bit earlier, so maybe you can rewatch this. Yeah, here, Johnny Guest says, so Atomic Habits is good to read for INFJs. I love that book. Yeah, I think this is a really beneficial for INFJs. So it's Atomic Habits by, yeah, I'm blinking on the name right now, but like, just look it up, Atomic Habits. Like, those are, there are some of the books that I just like to read on, I love audiobooks, so when I get ready, I always listen to stuff like this. Yeah, somebody says my zodiac sign. I'm not so much into zodiacs, but I'm Aquarius, 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 and absolutely almost everything. Like, I'm very, very, very strong and very in one area located. But that's, again, like, that's not bootcamp. That's just a fun fact. Okay. Let's see. So Linda is probably like one of our OG members. So she's been with bootcamp for a couple of years now. So let's see. Linda says, this year got off a bit on a rough start. I'm spending the year reviewing the basics, including the 5 pillars, and choosing to live in the present and trust my intuition. Amazing. Yeah. Because sometimes, like, that's the same thing I do. When, like, something happens and you fall off the wagon, so to say, like, getting back and saying, okay, where am I standing in those 5 pillars? Like, what is still missing? Where do I feel like I'm not in balance? Like, what's going on? And then you can course correct rather quickly. So I want, like, the goal is to not feel like you're behind in life, to feel like you're tapping into your potential, to feel like you're not sabotaging yourself. And yeah, to, like, just feel like that overall, oh, okay, I got this. And, like, those are the results we keep seeing. And it's, of course, not like it's not a destination. It's about choices you make every day and making it as easy as possible to make those choices. Because, yeah, of course, like, even if you would talk about something like eating, of course, it would be great if everybody would eat very healthy all the time and, all of these things. But, that's not reality. It's not that easy just to say that. So, what we do is just make those couple of changes, little bits here and there, that first off help you to continue on that path, that, make the biggest, differences in your life, and that just help you to, get to the next level and want to continue that process. Um, let's see. What do we have? I'm looking for a couple more cues. Maybe I missed some. Okay, here. Let's see. Okay. How do you find friends that don't just take you for granted as an INFJ? I've dealt with this so many times that I have a hard time trusting now. So the goal here is to really say, what's the common denominator here? Like, you are. We as INFJs. And so people take us for granted because we keep giving so much, and we, expect people to, be thankful for it. And, if you give so much, people are not aware of that. For them, it's like, that's just who you are. And that's how, like, all the things you do in the background. People are not aware of that. And so if you give 70% in a relationship and somebody else gives 30, you cannot make it 50-50. It's just not possible, because that person cannot give you more. Even if they could, it's not going to happen by you just waiting. Please appreciate it. So when you give 70 and people give 30, our goal is to say, I'm going to give less. So I'm going to give as much as I'm getting back. Because guess what a friendship is? It's a partnership. Meaning we want, like, what's the word? Like, we want it to be equal. So if you feel like, but I want to give so much, like, if I can give so much, how can this be like a relationship I want if I give less? Like, what is this? Just try it out. So if you say like 70-30, start giving 30 as well. And what do you do with the excess energy? Put it into yourself. Put it into, hold on. Put it into, making the changes happen in your life, creating the life that you want, and all of that. Because then you see, okay, like, that actually makes me feel so happy that I don't need to give so much to others. Because if we really are honest with ourselves and we look a little bit deeper, the reason why we give so much is because we want to have people appreciate it. It's not that we have bad intentions or that we do it because of, because we want something back. No, that's, we have that energy to give, but we're just not directing it at the right place, because that person can only give that much. People have like their problems, they have like their, they see life through their lens and all of that. And once you understand that's all that person can give me, like, I'm looking at them who they are right now and not for who they could be, and I'm also not looking for them to appreciate all the extra I'm giving. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give as much as the other person is giving, and then I can say, okay, can I push it a little bit? If the other person is going with you, okay. Then you can go again. If the other person is going with you, okay, great. But most of the time you'll see that once you've reached that level of 30-30 and you want to push it to 35, that other person won't be able to pull that up. And then you can see, okay, that's a friendship that isn't like that deeply connected, but the reason why it was so deeply connected before was because you were so invested in it. And then you might say, okay, but if I don't do that, then, like, what are friendships for? Aren't they all superficial and, like, stupid? And, like, no, because your life won't feel superficial. You will feel like, oh, I'm living this full life. And on top of that, I have this friend that we can share those 30% with, that adds a little bit of fun to my life, right? And then you'll feel fulfilled. You feel everything that you want, but you won't feel it through that one person. You'll feel it through all the connections that you have and all the choices that you're making in life. So it's really a holistic approach to that. And I've seen it with INFJs. This makes a huge difference, like this change. And this is one of the things we work on in relationship management. Let's see. why do people take us for granted all the time? Same thing. We're giving, like, people are not aware of what you're giving to them. And so we have to learn to give our energy in such a way that is being appreciated. And it really starts with, I'm not compromising anything on my level anymore. Like, if I'm giving to others, then it's because it's a win-win. And I'm only going to give to people who do appreciate it. And therefore, this is like one of the things we talk about in vocation, believe it or not. um, because in vocation, it's, vocation is all about like sharing your gift. And the first thing we talk about there is, how do you want to be seen? And you might say, what does that have to do with that? Well, the point is that very often we give at the expense of, how do we feel about ourselves, because we have to change ourselves in a way in order to reach other people. But what we learn is that if you don't do that, if you say, no, I'm not going to give to anybody if I have to compromise how I see myself and how I want others to see me. And for example, to be grateful for what you're giving to them. And you learn how to stay stuck with that. Like, it's really a practice of saying, I'm only helping people who appreciate it. And like, you become really strict with yourself. Like, it's like a nice thing to say, but most of the time we keep on giving, even if we don't, like, if we're not being appreciated at all. Like, I remember before, like, this huge transformation for me happened and all of that, the thing that really made the difference for me was I kept on giving to somebody, and I wanted them to finally understand that I only had good intentions and pour them. And I was a martyr, and I kept on giving and giving and making myself small, because I felt like if I would be my biggest best version, that just makes them like insecure, and they pull even like more away. And so I was giving at the expense of how I wanted to see myself and how I wanted to be seen by the world. And I learned that I will never do this again. I love to give. I love to give. I love to, be an Infj in this respect, but it can only work long term if I say, that's how I see myself. So we talk with we work with archetypes, we work with, role models and stuff like this, to have like this image of, that's how I see myself, and that's how I'll go throughout life. And if somebody doesn't want to see me this way, like if that intimidates them or makes them uncomfortable, then that's not a person I can help or have in my life, right? And so it all starts with that. So you can't, like, the people who take you for granted now, they will take you for granted in the future as well. So the point is just to say, I gotta change. And then you're going to automatically only accept people into your life who do appreciate you. And it's like, it's a little bit more, like, it takes a little bit more. And there's this period of time where you think like, oh, okay, then I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. But if you pull through that, and that's also a good thing why we have this community, because you see, we continuously work through that. Then on the other end of it, you will have the people who appreciate you. And then it's like long lasting. And it's like, and the relationships that you start building are, like anchors to the person you want to be. So it just gets easier and easier with time. Okay, so Leverona says, how do you protect physical energy? I like, the point is like here to say what things really give me energy and what things are draining me. So it is about like decluttering relationships and decluttering, like, things that you have in your life and worries and all of those things that are pulling your energy out. But it's like a combination of both of those things. Like, so on the one hand, it's okay, how can I improve my energy? Like, so we're talking sleep, we're talking about, the right nutrition, all of that, if that is for you, like, that's the thing. And then on the other hand, we have like, how can I cut out all of those things that are draining me? And very often we're not even aware of what that is. But it's relationships, it's habits, it's our environment. And one of the things we talk about in physical energy management is meditation and visualization, because there you really focus on, this is where I want to be and this is who I want to be. And so your energy is really much like, gets pointed into one direction. And so you're way less likely to put it everywhere else that is leading you to areas that are just keeping you low. So we're heightening our physical energy, we're removing things that are draining it, and then we're also narrowing it down into the right direction. So with this combination of these three things, it pushes you in the best way, fastest and in the right direction as we possibly can. So yeah, how do you protect your energy? Like you just meditate on, this is what I want. You practice, because it's a meditation practice, right? You practice to have your thoughts on what you want and to continuously put them in that direction. And then you work on, removing all the things that are, cluttering your mind. So if you haven't done this, like the poster, I think I have it under most videos. I have a link somewhere, like if you look in the description, the poster to the 5 pillars. So if you haven't done, if you don't have this yet, and you're not sure about bootcamp, or like the poster is like the first step where every little aspect of the 5 pillars is defined. Let me see. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't go through everything, but I think that's normal. Okay, so Jeannie's girl asked, are there specific ways INFJs can deal with depression? So my whole thing is action. Like that's, I think, totally underestimated, because like action, and then like using the fact that we're very impressionable, because when I say we are impressionable, I mean in a good way, meaning, so when how people feel around you has an impact on you, right? So what do? You find like the most motivating videos, and I'm not talking about videos of me, for example, where I talk and explain things, because my videos, yeah, they're motivating, but it's a lot about like knowledge and understanding how things work. I'm talking about things that like emotionally catch you, like those 5-minute workout motivations, like this is your life and la 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 la, like all of those things, because this is like epic, like it's that emotion, and it's like to tap into this more and more. So that's the first thing. And then to know the biggest things that make a difference in depression are really moving forward, feeling like you have control, and that things are happening towards a direction that makes you a little bit happier than you were before. And to know like, okay, I can stay in this state longer and longer. So the beginning, I was, I'm not a person who tends to be depressed a lot. No, I'm not. Like in general, I'm not. I'm a very positive person. But for the longest time, I had like this cloud on top of me, and I just, I tried my best, but you just keep it at this level. But before I, made that huge shift, I was really in a depressive state, like really low. And what helped me, and this is also what I've brought into, the bootcamp, and what I see works with INFJs very well, is first off to use that impressionability of ours to our advantage. So to continuously like, find those things that give us some positive feelings, and to repeat them, because in the beginning it's like, okay, I can stay in this state for 3 minutes, and then I'm again in the depressive state, and then the next day maybe I can stay in this state for 10 minutes. And so the point is to, like, when you're in this depressed state, to remember, okay, I can see the world this way, but it's also possible that I see it from a different way, and it just feels better to look at it from a different way, right? It's like, there is no this is the truth and the other one is not the truth. You both can be the truth. So, and then once you're in those positive states, to take the actions that will actually change your life. So your life, like the things that get mirrored back to you, allow you to be in this positive state easier. So you don't have to, remember to go and get a song, or remember to have some kind of anchor, but the way things are going, they automatically are mirroring back to you the positive version of yourself, the life loving version of yourself. And so that's the biggest difference that I've seen in INFJ. So continuously find some anchors that make you get out of the, out, like they give you like those glimpses of, oh, now I'm excited about life. And then to take action, and like, I encourage you to take actions within the 5 pillars. So even if you say, okay, I don't want to join bootcamp now, maybe later, go get the poster, look at, okay, we're talking about physical energy management, we're talking about like, you know, some relationships that are not healthy for me, where I need to have a difficult conversation. Like when you're in those positive states, use that momentum to make those changes happen, just pushing yourself forward towards a direction that feels good. And so you know, it's like you're dropping anchors into the person you want to be, and so it will be that much easier to get back to that. So not only will those phases of, you know, being in a positive state become bigger and bigger, but at the same time it will take you less and less time to, you know, get back to the positive states. And before you know it, like your this positive state is your normal state, and you pretty much never get into those depressive states anymore. Like I haven't gotten so low since that time. Of course, I've had moments and days and, you know, situations that were hard for me, but not like that. And when I knew what I had to do, and I knew it rationally, right? Because it's not like when you're in a depressive state, you feel like it. It's more like, okay, I'm going to lie to myself that it's going to get better, because I know that if I do the steps, I will feel better, and then things really will get better, right? So that's how it works. Okay, guys. So our hour is over. I hope it was helpful to you. Remember, if you have any questions, write us at info@wenzes.com. I hope to see many of you next Saturday on our first live call. And yeah, I wish you all a great week, all the success in the world, all the happiness, and let's build that INFJ a big life on our terms. Okay, bye guys.